Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you could change the way you look at success forever. 99% of people quit right before they win. Yes, right before the finish line, right before the breakthrough. Les petits esprits discutent this. Right before the moment everything was finally about to pay off. They give up. And not because they weren't capable, not because life was unfair, but because they lost faith one step too soon. You see, success doesn't announce itself. Discutent this. It doesn't knock on your door and say, hey, I'll be here tomorrow at 3 p.m. No, success hides behind uncertainty. It disguises itself as frustration, as fatigue, as failure, and it tests you. It wants to know. The spirits discutent this. How badly do you really want it? Think about Thomas Edison. 10,000 failed experiments before he created the light bulb. 10,000. Do you think he wasn't tempted to quit after the first 100? The first 1,000? These spirits discutent this. But every single time he failed, he was one attempt closer to lighting up the world. Now imagine if he'd quit on experiment number 999. We'd still be in the dark. The truth is, he did spirits discutent this. As the winners feel the same pain as everyone else, the same doubts, the same setbacks, but they stay in the game longer. They push through when others say it's over. I've seen this again and again. In sales, in business, in sports, the pattern never changes. The salesperson who stops calling after the 10th rejection misses the client who would have said yes on the 11th. The entrepreneur who gives up after a year of losses misses the profit surge waiting in month 13. The athlete who quits training after years of no results misses the championship that was just one more season away. Success demands. It's not about who starts fastest, it's about who refuses to stop. This AVA, you must learn to recognize the moment when your brain screams enough, because that's exactly when you're closest to your breakthrough. That's not the time to slow down. That's the time to attack, to double your effort. This AVI niemens et les petits es discutent these. To silence that inner voice of fear with action, you have to say to yourself, I've come too far to stop now. Because the only difference between those who make it and those who don't is persistence beyond the pain. These AVI niemens et les petits esprits discutent this. So the next time you feel exhausted, the next time nothing seems to work, remember the moment you want to quit the most is the moment right before life rewards you. That's when most people stop, but not you. You'll keep going. These AVI niemens et les petits esprits discutent this. You push harder. Because now you know the darkest hour was always right before dawn. And the winner's mindset is simple. Don't quit when it hurts, quit when you're done. Esprits discutent these. Success hides behind your hardest moments. Persistence is the key that reveals it. Let that sentence sink in for a second. Because if there's one truth that defines every champion, every entrepreneur, petits esprits discutent these. Every performer who has ever achieved greatness, it's this success never shows up when things are easy. It shows up right after you've endured what most people can't. The road to success isn't a straight line. It's a winding, immense et les petits esprits discutent this. Punishing climb full of obstacles that seem custom, designed to break your will. And that's exactly the point. Success is hidden behind your hardest moments because that's where your character is tested. Petits esprits discutent this. That's where your hunger is measured. That's where the universe filters out the pretender from the committed. When you hit that wall, the one that feels immovable, most people stop. Petits esprits discutent. They see difficulty as a sign that something's wrong, as proof that their dream isn't meant to be. But those who truly understand the game of achievement know that difficulty isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. Petits esprits discutent this. It means you're getting close, it means you're in the right place. Think of a miner digging for gold for days, weeks, sometimes months. He digs through rock, through dirt, through frustration. And at any point, et les petits esprits discutent this. He can stop and walk away with nothing. But if he keeps going, if he digs just one more meter, he strikes a gold, didn't move. He just had to stay long enough to reach it. That's how success works. It hides behind resistance, behind fatigue, behind moments that make you question everything. Why? Because persistence is the only proof you truly want it. Anyone can be motivated when things go smoothly. Anyone can smile when results come quickly. The immense et les petits esprits discutent this. But when the progress slows, when the applause fades, when the effort feels endless, that's when persistence becomes your greatest weapon. Because every time you keep going despite doubt, you build strength, you become more resilient, more focused, more unstoppable. Look at every great success story and you'll find this pattern. Walt Disney was fired from his first newspaper job because his editor told him he lacked imagination. Imagine that. His first animation company went bankrupt. He faced rejection after rejection when trying to find investors for Disneyland. But he kept pushing. Petits esprits discutent this. He persisted through failure after failure because he believed in something bigger than his pain. Today, his name represents creativity, vision, and joy across the world because he refused to give up when everything told him to. Petits esprits discutent this. Or think of J.K. Rowling, who wrote the first Harry Potter book while living in near poverty. 12 different publishers turned her down. 12. Each rejection could have been the end of the story. Each letter could have convinced her that her dream was unrealistic. But she persisted. She kept writing, kept believing, kept pushing. And the 13th publisher said yes, the one that changed her life forever. Petits esprits discutent this. Its success was there all along. It was just hiding behind her hardest moments, waiting for her persistence to unlock it. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's repetition. It's discipline. This AVA means les petits esprits discutent this. It's showing up on the days you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when nobody's watching, when nobody's cheering, when nobody believes. And that's why most people quit, because persistence feels lonely. Petits esprits discutent this. It feels like shouting into a void. You send the emails, you make the calls, you train, you study, you improve, and nothing seems to happen. But what you don't see is that something is happening beneath the surface. Discutent this. Every time you persist, you're planting seeds. The harvest doesn't come immediately, but it comes. It always comes for those who keep going long enough. The problem is that people expect success to be linear. Événements et les petits esprits discutent these. They think that the ephemeral results come. But real growth is invisible at first. You're learning, adapting and strengthening your foundation. That's why the hardest moments are so important. They're not there to punish you. Événements les petits esprits discutent these. They're there to prepare you. They harden your resolve, sharpen your mind, and teach you patience. Without them, success would destroy you because you wouldn't have the character to sustain it. The truth is, événements et les petits esprits discutent these. Success doesn't hide because it's cruel. It hides because it wants to be earned. It wants to see who has the courage to keep moving forward when there's no light, who keeps digging when everyone else has walked away. Les petits esprits discutent this. Persistence is the key that reveals it, not luck, not talent, not timing. Persistence. Because persistence turns pressure into power, failure into feedback, effort into excellence. It transforms obstacles into stepping stones. Événements et les petits esprits discutent this. It makes the impossible inevitable. So when you're in the middle of your hardest moment, when you feel like everything is falling apart, remind yourself this is the test. This is the moment success hides behind. Et les petits esprits discutent this. This is the point that separates the almost from the achievers. Keep going, because every step you take when it hurts is one step closer to the moment when success has no choice but to reveal itself to you. Événements et les petits esprits discutent this. Most people quit not because they can't, but because they lose faith too early. That's the real tragedy of human potential. It's really a lack of talent, intelligence, discutent these, or opportunity that stops someone from succeeding. It's doubt, the silent killer of dreams. At the beginning of any journey, enthusiasm is high. You feel unstoppable. You can visualize the victory. But as time passes, discutent this. Results don't show up as quickly as you hoped. Excitement fades, the obstacles multiply, and slowly you start convincing yourself that maybe it's not meant to be. Événements et les petits esprits discutent these. That's when people stop, not because they've reached their limit, but because they've lost faith in the idea that their effort will pay off. Faith is the invisible fuel of achievement. Événements et les petits esprits discutent this. It's what keeps you going when evidence tells you to give up. The greatest achievers in history were not the ones who never faced failure. They were the ones who refused to stop believing in their vision when failure came. Esprits discutent these. Look at Henry Ford. Before he revolutionized the automobile industry, he faced multiple bankruptcies. His first two companies collapsed. Investors lost confidence. People called him a fool. Yet he didn't stop. Petits esprits discutent this. He had an unshakable belief that one day the average person would own a car. That belief carried through years of disappointment until success finally caught up with his faith. The truth is, petits esprits discutent this. Most people treat faith like a contract. They'll believe as long as they see results. But that's not how it works. Faith is believing before there's proof. It's believing when everything around you says no. The problem is, esprits discutent this. When doubt enters the mind, it spreads fast, it whispers, maybe you're wasting your time, or maybe you're just not good enough. And the moment you listen, your energy shifts, your actions lose intensity. Est-ce qu'ils peuvent discuter these? You start hesitating, you do less, expect less, and suddenly you're fulfilling your own prophecy of failure. That's how most dreams do, not with a crash, but with quiet surrender. If people could hold faith just a little longer, discuting these, they'd be amazed at what happens. Because most breakthroughs are delayed, not denied. Success takes time to compound. Think of bamboo. It spends years growing roots underground before it even breaks the surface. But once it does, les petits esprits scrutinies. It shoots up rapidly, meters in a matter of weeks. The roots were the work no one could see, the period where faith was tested. That's how growth works in life too. Your unseen efforts are creating foundations. Les petits esprits discutent. And if you quit before they take shape, you'll never see the results that were already on their way. Every master was once a beginner who chose to keep believing. Every success story is written by someone who refused to surrender their faith when things got dark. You don't fail when things get hard. You fail when you stop believing they can get better. The moment you lose faith, les petits esprits discutent this. You lose your direction, your momentum, your reason to keep fighting. But if you hold on, if you nurture that belief, even when it feels foolish, something powerful happens, faith turns into resilience, and resilience turns into results. Nehmen said, les petits esprits discutent this. For the people who win aren't always the strongest or the smartest, they're simply the ones who never stopped believing that they could. Every no, every failure, the esprits discutent this. Discutent this brings you once closer to yes. That's not just a motivational slogan. It's a fundamental truth of course. Every rejection, every setback, every disappointment is part of the path, not a detour from it. The problem is, les petits esprits discutent this. Most people take no as a signal to stop, when in reality, it's simply feedback that guides you toward what will eventually work. Every no is information, every failure is refinement. Discutent this. And every misstep is a step closer to mastery. If you have the courage to keep moving forward, think about how the most successful people view rejection. A great salesperson doesn't crumble after hearing no. They expect it. Discutent this. They understand that each no brings them statistically closer to a yes. If they know that on average 1 out of 10 prospects says yes, then every rejection isn't a loss, it's progress. Because with every no, they're one closer to the next yes. The same principle applies to life. You can't reach success without collecting rejections along the way. Les petits esprits discutent this. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is perspective. Winners see rejection as part of the process. Losers see it as the end of it. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the foundation of it. Les petits esprits discutent this. Thomas Edison once said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's not optimism. That's understanding the mechanics of growth. Every time he failed, he learned. Les petits esprits discutent this. Every failed experiment narrowed the field of possibilities until only success remained. Most people never experience that stage because they give up too early. They take failure personally as proof that they're not good enough. This AVA means les petits esprits discutent this. When in truth, it's simply proof that they're trying. The more you try and the more you fail, the more you learn what doesn't work, which is the only way to discover what does. Rejection hurts, of course. Petits esprits discutent this. It wounds the ego, but it's not meant to stop you. It's meant to strengthen you. Each no tests your resilience, your patience, your belief in yourself. It asks you, les petits esprits discutent this. How much do you really want this? Because if your dream can be destroyed by a few rejections, then it wasn't a dream. It was a wish. The ones who rise are those who keep knocking, keep showing up, keep improving. This means this. I mean, even when the door sprints can shut, they understand that rejection is not a verdict. It's just part of the audition. If you could look behind the curtain of success stories, you'd see a trail of failures, rejections, discontent and heartbreaks. Michael Jordan did make his high school basketball team. Steven Spielberg was rejected from film school multiple times. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. Every no they faced was not the end, it was a step, a necessary one. Because each no pushed them to work harder, refine their craft and prove themselves again. And in doing so, they became unstoppable. The les petits esprits discutent. So when life says, no, don't retreat. Listen, learn, adapt, and push again. Every no is moving you forward if you stay in motion. Because the moment you understand that rejection isn't punishment, but progress, esprits discutent these. You stop fearing it, you start collecting no's with confidence, knowing that sooner or later, one of them will turn into the yes. That changes everything. Petit esprits discutent this. The final test before victory always feels like defeat, and that's why most people never make it to the other side. Right before success arrives, life often throws its heaviest punches. Everything seems to go wrong at once. Petits esprits discutent this. The project falls apart, the deal collapses, your confidence cracks, and you start questioning whether you've been wasting your time. It feels like the universe is against you. But that moment, that crushing, exhausting, is the faith-shaking moment is often the very edge of your breakthrough. It's the final test, the point where the universe asks, do you still want it? Because if you can keep going through that storm, victory becomes inevitable. Événements les petits esprits discutent this. Think of it like climbing a mountain. The air gets thinner near the top, your legs burn, your body begs you to stop. You're so close to the summit, but it feels harder than ever. That's because the closer you get to your goal, petits esprits discutent these, the tougher the climb becomes. The conditions get rougher, the obstacles more intense, and your energy starts running out, not because you're failing, but because you're ascending. That final stretch demands everything you've got. These événements les petits esprits discutent this. Most people turn back right there, mistaking fatigue for defeat. But those who keep pushing even when they can't see the peak are the ones who reach it and realize it was just a few more steps away. Discutent these. History is full of examples of people who face their darkest moments right before success. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, was rejected over 1,000 times before someone agreed to invest in his fried chicken recipe. Les petits esprits discutent this. Imagine the frustration, the embarrassment, the temptation to quit. But he didn't stop, and the rejection that almost became the final test before his victory. Or take the story of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. Événements les petits esprits discutent this. Stripped of freedom and hope before emerging as one of the most powerful symbols of perseverance and leadership in history. What looked like total defeat was simply preparation for greatness. Esprits discutent this. That's the irony of success. It hides behind moments that feel impossible to overcome. The final test is designed to make sure you're truly ready. Discutent disease. It's the point where talent is no longer enough and only heart can carry you forward. Because when everything seems to fall apart, you're forced to tap into something deeper than motivation, something unshakable. Petits esprits discutent this. That's when your true strength shows up. It's easy to keep going when things are smooth, but real champions are forged when the odds are against them and they keep swinging anyway. Événements les petits esprits discutent this. The feeling of defeat is not a sign that you fail, it's a sign that you're being stretched beyond your limits. And that's where growth happens. Life doesn't test you to break you. These événements les esprits discutent this. It tests you to prove that you can't be broken. So when you reach that moment where everything hurts, where the dream feels out of reach, understand this, you're being prepared, not punished. Discutent these. You're not losing, you're being shaped into the person capable of handling the victory waiting just ahead, because the final test always feels like defeat until you pass it.